A mother writes to us about her daughter Emily. The daughter died and came back from the other side. She reveals to her mother terrible things that are to come up your city. Let us know so we can stand in the gap for your children. I will begin sharing today's experience. Hi family, I will starting telling you what happened without wasting your time. I received a call from the hospital. They told me my daughter Emily had been in a terrible car accident on the highway. She was only 24 years old. I dropped the phone on the floor. My husband caught me before I fell down. We drove to the hospital in complete silence. I could not speak. My heart was beating so fast I thought it would come out of my chest. When we arrived, the doctors looked at us with very sad eyes. They said Emily was gone for almost 5 minutes. Her heart had completely stopped, but they brought her back using electricity. She was in a deep coma. I sat by her bed holding her cold hand. I prayed and cried all night. I did not sleep for 3 days. Then on the fourth morning, she opened her eyes. She looked at me and smiled, but it was different. She looked like she had seen something huge, something beyond this world. I did not know yet that my daughter had been somewhere else, somewhere beautiful. And she had a message that would change how I see everything forever. Emily told me later that she remembered the crash. She remembered the sound of breaking glass. And then everything went black. Suddenly, she was floating above her own body in the emergency room. She could see the doctors working hard on her chest. She saw nurses running around with serious faces. She saw her own face lying there on the metal table, but strangely she was not scared. She felt very calm and peaceful. It was like waking up from a long bad dream. She felt free. Like she had been wearing heavy wet clothes all her life and suddenly she took them off. She started moving upward toward the ceiling. There was a long dark tunnel above her head. At first it was scary dark, but then she saw a bright light at the end. It was the most beautiful light she had ever seen in her life. It was not like normal sunlight. It was brighter but also soft. It did not hurt her eyes at all. She wanted to go there very much. She felt pulled toward it. Like coming home after being lost for a very long time, she moved faster through the tunnel. The light got bigger and bigger. She felt warm. She felt completely safe. She knew she was going somewhere very good, somewhere filled with perfect love. When Emily came out of the tunnel, well, she stood in a large field. The grass was very green, but it also glowed with light. Everything around her was bright and clean. The colors were more real than colors here on Earth. She said she could actually feel the light touching her skin like warm hands. It was warm like sunshine, but much better. There was no pain anywhere in her body. Her body felt perfect and light. She looked down at her hands and they looked young and healthy. In the distance she saw trees with leaves that sparkled like diamonds. There was a river that made beautiful music when it moved. Not like normal water sounds here. It was like angels singing. The air smelled like flowers and honey mixed together. She felt happy in a deep way, not like when you laugh at a funny joke. This was deeper happiness, like every good moment in her whole life was happening at the same time. She started walking toward the brightest light. It was coming from everywhere at once. Then she saw him. A man was standing there waiting for her with open arms. He wore white clothes that shined with their own light. She knew right away who he was. It was Jesus. She felt no fear at all, only love. So much love that she fell to her knees, but he walked over and helped her stand up. His hands were very warm. Emily told me that Jesus hugged her, very close. She said it was like being hugged by every person who ever loved her at the same time. But this hug was much stronger. Pure love went through her whole body like electricity, but gentle. She started crying, but they were happy tears. All the bad things she had done in her life suddenly felt washed away clean. She felt clean inside. She felt light. Like a heavy backpack was taken off her shoulders for good. She felt warm. She felt safe. She did not want to let go. She wanted to stay in that hug forever. Time did not work the same way there. It felt like years, but also like 1 second. She said she could have stayed there for eternity and been happy. Every fear she ever had in her life was gone. Fear of death, fear of failure, fear of being alone, fear of the future, fear of pain, fear of rejection, all gone completely. She felt truly understood. She felt that she really belonged there. The peace was so big she cannot describe it with normal human words. She said it was like the best sleep after being tired for your whole life. She felt truly home, she felt accepted, she felt forgiven, she felt whole, she felt complete. She felt like she was finally where she was always meant to be. The love was so strong. It was so real. It was more real than anything she had ever felt on earth. It filled every empty place in her heart. She felt like a flower opening up to the sun after being in the dark for so long. Then he began pulling back gently. He looked into her eyes with those eyes that knew everything. He began showing her things about America. What he showed her next made her heart feel heavy. It made her feel sick. He revealed to her a massive dark cloud. It was black and thick and heavy. It looked like smoke, but it was alive. It was moving. It was breathing. It was the spirit of lust. She saw this spirit pouring out over the whole nation like a flood. It covered the big cities. It covered the small towns. It covered the churches. It covered the schools. It covered the homes. It was everywhere. The darkness was heavy. She could feel the weight of it even in that place of light. She could feel the evil. She could feel the sadness. She could feel the destruction. She could feel the death in it. She could see it creeping under doors. She could see it coming through the screens. She could see it in the music. She could see it in the books. It was a tsunami of filth. It was covering everything. It was staining everything. It was making everything dirty. She saw people engaging in sexual activities everywhere. They were doing it without any boundaries. They were doing it without any shame. They were doing it in public parks. They were doing it in the streets. They were doing it on television. They were doing it on the internet. They were doing it in schools. They were teaching children to do it. She saw scenes that made her want to look away. She saw men with men. She saw women with women. She saw groups of people doing things that should be private. She saw orgies. She saw perversion. She saw things she did not have words for. The spirit had made them blind. They could not see that they were hurting themselves. They thought they were free, but they were really prisoners. The spirit laughed at them. The darkness enjoyed their confusion. They were dancing in their chains. They were celebrating their own destruction. They were proud of their sin. They were marching in the streets demanding the right to do more sin. They were angry when anyone tried to stop them. They were attacking anyone who spoke about purity. They were calling good evil and evil good. They were demanding that everyone agree with them. They were forcing children to learn about sex too early. They were destroying innocence. They were making everything ugly. She saw young boys and girls. They were trapped alone in their rooms. They were held captive by masturbation. She saw them sitting in front of screens for hours and hours. Their eyes were empty. Their souls were being drained away. They were addicted. They could not stop. They tried to stop, but the urge was too strong. The spirit had wrapped chains around their minds. She saw 13-year-old boys. She saw 14-year-old girls. She saw children even younger. They were wasting away. They were losing their ability to love real people. They were losing their ability to connect. Their brains were being damaged. Their hearts were becoming hard. They were becoming slaves to their own bodies. The enemy was laughing because he was stealing a whole generation. She saw them shaking. She saw them crying. She saw them trying to stop but going back again and again. She saw the shame. She saw the guilt. She saw the emptiness after the moment passed. She saw them searching for more and more extreme things to feel something. She saw them going deeper into darkness. She saw the pornography that was everywhere. It was in their pockets on their phones. It was always available. They could not escape it. The advertisers were using sex to sell everything. The music was talking about sex. The movies were showing sex. The books were describing sex. It was everywhere. There was no escape. The parents did not know. The parents did not care. The parents were doing it too. The whole nation was sleeping. He showed her the effects clearly. She saw the results of this spirit. Hearts were becoming empty and cold. People could not feel love anymore. They could not feel joy. They were chasing pleasure but finding only emptiness. They were hollow inside. They were shells of people. Families were breaking apart. Husbands were leaving wives. Wives were cheating on husbands. Children were being hurt. Bobbies were being killed before they could be born. Millions of bobbies. The blood was crying out. The love was gone from the homes. The warmth was gone. People were living alone. Even when they were together, they were alone on their phones. The spirit of lust had destroyed the family. It had destroyed the community. It had destroyed the church. The effects were everywhere. She saw depression. She saw suicide. She saw medication being used to try to fix broken hearts that only God could heal. She saw the pain. She saw the tears. She saw the hopelessness. She saw the hospitals filling up with broken minds. She saw the prisons filling up with broken men. She saw the streets filled with broken women. She saw the children confused and hurt. She saw the cycle repeating. She saw the generational curse passing from father to son. She saw the mothers weeping. She saw the fathers absent. She saw the destruction complete. She saw the end of the family as it was meant to be. She saw the end of love. This was just the beginning, he told her. The major thing was still coming. This was only the start of a great darkness that would test everyone. This was the first wave. There was more coming, much more. The spirit of lust was preparing the way for something worse. It was making people weak so they could not stand when the real test came. It was making them numb so they would not care about truth. It was making them selfish so they would not love others. It was making them soft so they would not fight. It was making them blind so they would not see the danger. It was just the beginning of the end, the beginning of the shaking, the beginning of the testing, the beginning of the separation, the wheat and the tares, the sheep and the goats. The division was starting. The lines were being drawn. The spirit of lust was the first attack. It was the softening up of the enemy. The real battle was coming. The real persecution was coming. The real choice was coming. And many would not be ready because they were already captured. They were already defeated by their own flesh. They had no strength left. They had no resistance. They had given up their weapons. They were naked and exposed. They were not ready for what was next. They would fall away quickly when the pressure came. They would deny him because they loved their sin more than him. They would choose comfort over truth. She felt heavy sadness seeing this. Her heart was breaking. She wanted to cry out. She wanted to warn them. She wanted to shake them awake. She wanted to scream at them to stop. But she knew she could not. She knew this was what they were choosing. She felt the weight of the coming darkness. She felt the sorrow of God. She felt his pain. He did not want this for them. He wanted to save them. But they were choosing the chains. They were choosing the darkness. They were choosing death instead of life. They were choosing pleasure over purity. They were choosing now over eternity. She wept. She wept for the children. She wept for the youth. She wept for the parents who did not protect their homes. She wept for the churches that did not preach the truth. She wept for the nation that had forgotten God. She wept for the bobbies who would never see light. She wept for the marriages that would never happen because people were trapped in lust. She wept for the loneliness that was coming. She wept for the pain that was coming. She wept until she could not weep anymore. Then Jesus started showing Emily pictures in the light. They were like movies, but more real than movies. Much more real. She could feel them. She could smell them. She was there inside them. He showed her the year 2026 clearly. She knew it was 2026. She could see the numbers. She could feel the time. She saw America, but it was not the America she knew. It was different. It was darker. It was heavier. She saw many troubles coming for the country. Many troubles. Big troubles. She felt afraid watching these things, but he held her hand. He told her to keep watching. He told her she needed to see. He told her she needed to remember. He told her she needed to tell others. She saw Donald Trump on a television screen. He was very clear. She could see his face. He was older. He was speaking to many thousands of people. The crowd was huge. They were listening to him. Some were cheering. Some were angry. The picture showed that he would be part of very big events. Very important events, events that would change everything, events that would test everyone's faith. But Jesus did not say if Trump was good or bad. He did not tell her that. He just showed that hard times were coming. He showed that Trump would be in the middle of it. He would be a lightning rod. He would divide people. He would cause people to show their true hearts. Some would worship him like a savior. Some would hate him like the devil. Both would be wrong. Both would be deceived. He was just a man, but he would be used to bring the testing. He would be used to separate the sheep from the goats. The whole nation would be focused on him. And while they were focused on him, other things would be happening. Important things, spiritual things. The economy would shake. Jesus showed her this clearly. She saw banks closing. She saw people standing in long lines. They were afraid. They could not get their money. The money was losing value. She saw prices going up very fast. She saw a loaf of bread costing many dollars. She saw gas prices so high that people could not drive. She saw people losing their homes. She saw foreclosure signs everywhere. She saw tent cities. She saw middle-class people suddenly poor. She saw rich people losing everything. She saw the stock market crashing. She saw numbers falling on screens. She saw people crying in offices. She saw suicide. She saw the dollar losing its power. She saw other countries not wanting American money anymore. She saw trade stopping. She saw shelves in stores becoming empty. She saw people fighting over food. She saw hunger. She saw desperation. She saw fathers stealing to feed their children. She saw mothers weeping because they could not buy medicine. She saw the effects of this shaking. It was not just about money, it was about security. People had trusted in money. People had trusted in their jobs. People had trusted in their savings. Now all of that was gone. They had nothing to hold on to. They were falling. They were afraid. They were angry. They were looking for someone to blame. There would be much confusion. Jesus showed her this. She saw people not knowing what to believe. She saw the news saying one thing, then saying another thing. She saw lies everywhere. She saw truth being called fake. She saw fake being called truth. She saw people not knowing who to trust. She saw conspiracy theories becoming real. She saw real things being called conspiracy. She saw the media breaking down. She saw the internet being controlled. She saw information being blocked. She saw people living in different realities. Some people thought everything was fine. Some people thought the world was ending. Both were wrong, both were right. The confusion was thick. It was like a fog. People could not see clearly. They were bumping into each other. They were fighting each other. They were divided into angry groups. Very angry. She saw the division. She saw it clearly. She saw black against white. She saw rich against poor. She saw left against right. She saw neighbor against neighbor. She saw brother against sister. She saw father against son. She saw the church splitting. She saw pastors fighting each other. She saw Christians attacking Christians. She saw the hatred. It was not just disagreement. It was hatred, deep hatred. They wanted to destroy each other. They wanted to silence each other. They could not agree on anything. They could not even agree on what was true. She saw violence in the streets. She saw cities burning. She saw protests that turned into riots. She saw police being attacked. She saw people being shot. She saw buildings on fire. She saw glass breaking. She saw looting. She saw people taking things that did not belong to them. She saw chaos. She saw lawlessness. She saw people doing whatever they wanted. She saw the strong hurting the weak. She saw gangs taking over neighborhoods. She saw people afraid to leave their homes. She saw curfews. She saw military in the streets. She saw checkpoints. She saw America looking like a war zone, but it was not a war with other countries. It was a war inside. It was brother against brother. It was a civil war of the heart. It was a breaking of the social contract. People stopped caring about each other. People stopped being kind. It was every man for himself. It was survival of the fittest. The love of many was growing cold, just like he said would happen. But through all of this, Jesus kept showing her that God was still in charge. He showed her this over and over. He showed her that he was allowing this. He was not surprised. He was not sleeping. He was watching. He was working. He was separating. He was testing. He was purifying. The message was not really about politics. It was not about Trump. It was not about the economy. It was not about the violence. Those were just symptoms. Those were just the outside. Real message was about preparation of the heart. That was what mattered. He showed her that many people would look at leaders and think those leaders could save them. They would think Trump could save them. They would think the new president could save them. They would think the military could save them. They would think money could save them, but that was not true. None of that was true. The only real safety was in faith, faith in him, trust in him, love for him. That was the only shelter. That was the only strong tower. Everything else would fall. Everything else would fail. Every human leader would disappoint. Every human system would collapse. Only he would remain. The visions were scary. They were very scary. Emily felt very sad watching these things. She felt heavy. She felt like she wanted to look away, but she could not look away. She had to see. She had to know. She had to remember, she had to tell others, but they came with a strong promise, a beautiful promise. God would use even the hard times to wake people up. He would use the shaking to make them remember what really matters. He would use the loss of money to show them that money is not God. He would use the loss of security to show them that only He is security. He would use the confusion to make them seek truth. He would use the division to separate the real from the fake. He would use the persecution to purify the church. He would use the darkness to make the light shine brighter. Emily understood that 2026 would be a year of testing for many hearts and beliefs. It would be a year of choosing. It would be a year of deciding. People would have to choose sides. They could not sit in the middle anymore. They could not be lukewarm anymore. He would spit them out if they were lukewarm. They had to be hot or cold. They had to choose Him or the world. There would be no more playing church. There would be no more pretending. The mask would come off. The real heart would show, and many would be surprised. Many who thought they were saved would be shown that they were not. Many who thought they were strong would be shown that they were weak. And some who were quiet would be shown to be strong. Some who were small would be shown to be great. He showed her the effects on the true believers. She saw them suffering. She saw them losing jobs because they would not compromise. She saw them being arrested for speaking truth. She saw them being put in camps. She saw them being separated from their families. She saw them being hated by everyone. But she also saw them shining. She saw them peaceful when everyone else was afraid. She saw them singing when everyone else was crying. She saw them loving their enemies. She saw them forgiving those who hurt them. She saw them sharing their last food with others. She saw them praying for those who persecuted them. She saw the glory of God on them. She saw angels surrounding them. She saw them winning even when they lost everything. She saw them gaining their souls even when they lost the world. She saw the eternal reward waiting for them. She saw the crowns. She saw the robes. She saw the welcome. She saw Him smiling at them. She saw Him wiping their tears. She saw Him saying, "Well done." She saw the reward was worth it. The suffering was temporary. The glory was eternal. She saw the effects on those who did not prepare. She saw them running. She saw them hiding. She saw them crying out for the mountains to fall on them. She saw them cursing God. She saw them blaming everyone else. She saw them becoming violent. She saw them becoming animal-like. She saw them losing their humanity. She saw them taking the mark because they were afraid. She saw them selling their souls for a piece of bread. She saw them betraying their families to save themselves. She saw them becoming monsters. She saw the emptiness in their eyes. She saw the demons possessing them. She saw the torment. She saw the regret. She saw the wish that they had listened. She saw the wish that they had prepared. She saw the wish that they had taken the time to get right with God when they had the chance. But the chance was gone. The door was closed. The Spirit was withdrawn. They were left to their own devices. They were given over to their lusts. They were given over to their delusions. They were given over to their destruction. He showed her the preparation that was needed. It was not storing food. It was not buying gold. It was not building bunkers. It was the heart. It was the Spirit. It was being clean inside. It was being full of the Holy Spirit. It was knowing His voice. It was being able to hear Him when He speaks. It was being so close to Him that nothing could shake you. It was being so in love with Him that you would rather die than deny Him. It was being so full of His peace that the chaos around you could not touch your heart. That was the preparation. That was the safety. That was the only thing that would matter when 2026 came. Everything else would burn. Everything else would rot. Only the things done for Him would last. Only the hearts committed to Him would stand. Only the souls washed in His blood would be clean. Emily wept. She wept for the pain coming. She wept for the loss. She wept for the suffering, but she also felt hope. She felt hope because she knew that He wins. She knew that love wins. She knew that the darkness is only for a moment. She knew that the morning is coming. She knew that those who endure to the end will be saved. She knew that 2026 was not the end. It was just the beginning of the end. It was just the start of the birth pains. It was just the first contraction. More would come after, but He would be there. He would never leave. He would never forsake. He would carry His people through. He would hide them under His wing. He would be their provider. He would be their protector. He would be their peace. He would be their portion. He would be their everything. She understood now why she had to go back. She understood why she had to tell this. She understood that people needed to know. They needed to know so they could choose. They needed to know so they could prepare. They needed to know so they would not be surprised. They needed to know so they would not fall away. They needed to know so they would stand firm. They needed to know that He is faithful. They needed to know that He is coming. They needed to know that the time is short. They needed to know that the bride must make herself ready. They needed to know that the lamps must be full of oil. They needed to know that the wedding is coming. They needed to know that the groom is at the door. They needed to know that 2026 is the year of decision, the year of separation, the year of salvation for the remnant, the year of judgment for the world, the year when everything changes, the year when the old passes away, the year when the new begins, the year of the Lord. Then Jesus spoke to Emily about His people on earth. He spoke with great love but also with great sadness. His voice was gentle but heavy. He told her that many Christians were sleeping. They were not awake. They were not alert. They were walking around like zombies. They were going through the motions. They were playing church. They were pretending everything was fine, but they were asleep, deeply asleep. He showed her why they were sleeping. He revealed the distractions. He showed her the phones. He showed her the screens. He showed her Christians scrolling for hours and hours. They were looking at meaningless things. They were watching videos that meant nothing. They were reading gossip. They were looking at pictures that stirred up lust and envy and discontent. They were addicted to the screens. They could not put them down. They checked them first thing in the morning. They checked them last thing at night. They checked them during church. They checked them during prayer. They were always looking down at the little box in their hands. They were not looking up at Him. They were not listening to His voice. They were listening to the world. The phones were putting them to sleep. The phones were numbing their spirits. The phones were making them blind. He showed her the jobs. He showed her Christians working 70 hours a week. He showed them chasing money. He showed them chasing promotions. He showed them chasing titles. They were so busy. They were so tired. They had no time for prayer. They had no time for the Bible. They had no time for their families. They had no time for the poor. They were building their own little kingdoms. They were building their own little empires. They were storing up treasures on earth that would rot. They were neglecting treasures in heaven. They were anxious about money. They were anxious about status. They were anxious about what others thought. They were anxious about keeping up with neighbors. They were worried about paying for things they did not need. They were worried about impressing people who did not matter. They were asleep to the things that mattered. They were awake to the world but asleep to God. He showed her the worry. He showed her Christians watching the news every day. He showed them becoming very afraid. He showed them panicking about elections. He showed them panicking about the economy. He showed them panicking about diseases. He showed them panicking about wars. They were consumed with fear. They were talking about fear all the time. They were posting fear on social media. They were spreading fear to other believers. They were looking at the storm instead of looking at Him. They were listening to the news more than they were listening to His voice. They were letting the world dictate their emotions. They were letting the world control their peace. They had no peace because they were focused on the chaos. They had no joy because they were focused on the darkness. They had forgotten that He said, "Do not fear." They had forgotten that He said, "Be anxious for nothing." They had forgotten that He is in control. They were acting like He was not on the throne. They were acting like the world was winning. They were asleep to His promises. He revealed that this was not the right way to live. This was not the life He died for. This was not the life He called them to. He showed her that fear was the enemy of faith. He explained that fear and faith cannot live together. They are enemies. Where fear lives, faith dies. Where faith lives, fear dies. He showed her Christians who were paralyzed by fear. They could not move. They could not obey. They could not step out. They were hiding in their homes. They were hiding in their churches. They were hiding from the world because they were afraid. They were not advancing the kingdom. They were retreating. They were not taking ground. They were giving ground. They were not shining light. They were hiding their light under baskets. They were ashamed of Him because they were afraid of the world. They loved their lives too much. They loved their comfort too much. They loved their safety too much. They were not willing to risk anything for Him. They were not willing to lose anything for him. They were not willing to die for him. They were asleep in their fear. He showed her that when people focus too much on political leaders, they forget who is really king. He showed her Christians worshiping Trump. He showed them putting all their hope in him. He showed them thinking that if Trump won, everything would be okay. He showed them angry and depressed when things did not go their way. He showed them spending all their energy on politics. He showed them fighting with family members over politics. He showed them loving their political party more than they loved their brothers. He showed them hating people who voted differently. He showed them forgetting that he is the only king. He showed them forgetting that his kingdom is not of this world. He showed them forgetting that presidents and kings and dictators are all just men. They are all just flesh. They all have limited power. They all die. They all fail, but he remains. He never fails. He never dies. He is the only one worthy of worship. He is the only one worthy of trust. He is the only one who saves, not Trump. Not Biden, not any leader, only him. He told her that prayer was more powerful than any government decision. He showed her the prayer room. He showed her the intercessors. He showed them on their knees. He showed them crying out. He showed them fasting. He showed them pleading. He showed the power going up from them. He showed it reaching heaven. He showed it moving angels. He showed it changing circumstances. He showed it protecting the innocent. He showed it confusing the enemy. He showed it opening doors that were closed. He showed it closing doors that needed to be shut. He showed that prayer changes things. Prayer changes history. Prayer changes hearts. Prayer changes governments. Prayer is the most powerful weapon, more powerful than bombs, more powerful than armies, more powerful than money, more powerful than votes. But he showed her the prayer rooms were empty. He showed her that Christians were spending more time arguing on Facebook than praying in the closet. He showed them spending more time watching news than watching with him. He showed them spending more energy on complaining than on interceding. He showed them that they had the power, but they were not using it. They were leaving the weapon on the table. They were going into battle unarmed. He said repentance was needed, not just saying sorry with words, not just praying a prayer once and thinking that was enough, not just confessing with the mouth while the heart stayed hard, but really changing direction in life, turning back to God with full hearts. He showed her what real repentance looked like. He showed her people throwing away their pornography. He showed them deleting their accounts. He showed them walking away from bad relationships. He showed them giving back what they had stolen. He showed them apologizing to those they had hurt. He showed them changing their schedules. He showed them putting him first. He showed them obeying when it was hard. He showed them trusting when it did not make sense. He showed them surrendering everything, not holding anything back, not keeping any secret sins, not keeping any hidden idols, giving him the throne of every room in their heart, giving him the keys to everything, holding nothing in reserve. That was real repentance. That was real change. That was what he was looking for. He showed her that faith was like a muscle that gets weak if not used. He showed her Christians who used to believe, they used to trust, they used to step out, but they had stopped. They had gotten comfortable, they had gotten lazy. They had stopped exercising their faith, they had stopped taking risks, they had stopped believing for miracles, they had stopped expecting him to move. They had naturalized, they had become worldly, they looked just like everyone else. They worried just like everyone else. They lived just like everyone else. Their faith had atrophied, it had shrunk, it had become small and weak. They could not believe for big things anymore because their faith muscle was small. They needed to exercise it again. They needed to start trusting for small things, then bigger things, then impossible things. They needed to stretch their faith. They needed to use it or lose it. They needed to remember that without faith it is impossible to please him. They needed to remember that he rewards those who diligently seek him. They needed to seek him again with all their heart. He said the storms were coming to test what people really believed deep down. He showed her the storm clouds gathering. He showed her the wind blowing. He showed the rain starting. He showed the flood rising. He showed the fire coming. He showed the shaking beginning. And he showed Christians being tested. Would they trust in money and power, or would they trust in God? He showed them losing their jobs. He showed them losing their homes. He showed them being betrayed by friends. He showed them being arrested. He showed them being hungry. He showed them being cold. And in those moments he showed their true hearts. Some cursed him. Some denied him. Some walked away. They showed that their faith was only fair weather faith. They showed that they loved him for what he gave them, not for who he was, but others. Others shone like gold. They praised him when they had nothing. They thanked him when they lost everything. They loved him when he seemed silent. They trusted him when they could not see. They proved that their faith was real. They proved that he was enough. They proved that he was worth more than everything. The message was very clear: stay awake spiritually. Do not let the world put you to sleep. Do not let comfort put you to sleep. Do not let fear put you to sleep. Do not let busyness put you to sleep. Stay awake. Watch and pray, be alert, be sober, be vigilant. The enemy is prowling. He is looking for sleeping Christians. He is looking for easy targets. Do not be an easy target. Wake up, rise up, shake off the slumber, shake off the dust. Arise and shine. The glory is coming. But only the awake will see it. Only the awake will receive it. Only the awake will be ready. Do not let fear control your heart and mind. Fear is a liar. Fear is a thief. Fear steals your peace. Fear steals your joy. Fear steals your power. Fear paralyzes you. Reject fear. Cast it out. Take every thought captive. Make it obedient to him. Think on what is true. Think on what is noble. Think on what is right. Think on what is pure. Think on what is lovely. Think on what is admirable. Think on him. Keep your eyes on heaven even when the earth is shaking. Look up. Your redemption is drawing near. Look up. He is coming. Look up. The King is coming. Keep your eyes fixed on him, the author and perfecter of your faith. Do not look to the right or to the left. Do not look down in despair. Look up in hope. This was the preparation needed. Not storing food or money. Not building bunkers. Not buying guns. Not hoarding gold, but storing up faith and love. Faith that could move mountains. Faith that could walk through fire. Faith that could face lions. Faith that could stand before kings and testify. Faith that could die with a smile. And love. Love for God that overflows. Love for neighbor that sacrifices. Love for enemy that prays and blesses. Love that covers a multitude of sins. Love that never fails. Love that is patient and kind. Love that does not envy or boast. Love that is not proud or rude. Love that is not self-seeking or easily angered. Love that keeps no record of wrongs. Love that rejoices with truth. Love that always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. That was the preparation. That was what would last. That was what would matter when everything else burned away. Faith and love, faith in him, love for him, and love for others because of him. That was the only safety. That was the only security. That was the only thing that would stand in 2026 and beyond. Jesus showed Emily why these hard times were necessary. He showed her with great patience and love. He explained that mercy sometimes looks like judgment. He explained that love sometimes looks like harshness. He explained that the Father knows what his children need even when they do not want it. He showed her the heart of God. He showed her that God does not enjoy hurting his children. He does not enjoy seeing them suffer. He does not enjoy bringing difficult times. But sometimes it is the only way. Sometimes the medicine tastes bitter, but it is necessary to cure the disease. Sometimes the surgeon must cut to heal. Sometimes the fire must burn to purify the gold. The difficult times were necessary because of how far the people had gone, because of how deep the sleep had become, because of how strong the deception had grown. He explained that when life is easy, people forget about God. He showed her this clearly. He showed her a nation that had everything. He showed her people with full stomachs. He showed them with comfortable homes. He showed them with cars and clothes and gadgets. He showed them with entertainment 24 hours a day. He showed them with access to everything they could want. And he showed their hearts. He showed that they had forgotten him. They did not pray anymore. They did not read his word anymore. They did not gather to worship him anymore. They did not need him. They had replaced him with their stuff. They had replaced him with their comfort. They had replaced him with their technology. They had replaced him with their entertainment. They thought they did not need him anymore. They thought they had built their own paradise. They thought they were safe because they had money in the bank. They thought they were secure because they had strong leaders. They thought they were wise because they had information. They had become proud. They had become self-sufficient. They had become independent from the one who gave them breath. They were like teenagers who thought they did not need their parents anymore. They were running away from home while living in the house he built. They were using the blessings he gave them to ignore him. He showed her how they became distracted by small things. He showed her the shopping. He showed them running to the stores. He showed them buying things they did not need with money they did not have. He showed them filling their houses with stuff. He showed them always wanting more. New phones, new cars, new clothes, new furniture, always upgrading, always consuming, never satisfied, never content. The stuff was never enough. There was always something else to buy, always something else to want. And while they were shopping, they were forgetting. They were forgetting the poor. They were forgetting the lonely. They were forgetting him. He showed her the entertainment. He showed them staring at screens for hours. He showed them laughing at things that were not funny. He showed them watching stories about fake people while ignoring real people. He showed them playing games. He showed them at concerts. He showed them at sporting events. He showed them filling every moment with noise, with distraction, with amusement. They could not sit still. They could not be quiet. They could not think. They could not pray. They were amused to death. They were entertained into slavery. They were distracted from reality. They were living in a fantasy while the real world crumbled around them. He showed her the arguing online about politics. He showed them typing angry words. He showed them fighting with strangers. He showed them dividing into tribes. He showed them hating people they had never met. He showed them spending hours debating. He showed them researching conspiracy theories. He showed them obsessed with the news cycle. He showed them anxious about every tweet. He showed them depressed about every headline. He showed them putting their hope in princes. He showed them putting their trust in horses. He showed them thinking that if their side won, everything would be okay. He showed them forgetting that he is the only king. He showed them spending all their energy on things that pass away. The elections pass away. The leaders pass away. The parties pass away. But his word remains. His kingdom remains. His love remains. But they were distracted. They were asleep. They were dreaming while the house burned down around them. He revealed that the difficulties coming in 2026 would be like a loud alarm clock, a very loud alarm clock, an alarm clock that would not have a snooze button, an alarm clock that would keep ringing until they woke up, a wake-up call for sleeping people. The shaking would be sudden. The shaking would be severe. It would be impossible to ignore. The money would be gone. The comfort would be gone. The entertainment would be stopped. The politics would not matter anymore when survival became the question. The distractions would be stripped away. The noise would be turned off. The fantasy would end. Reality would crash in like a wave, and they would have to wake up. They would have to open their eyes. They would have to see what was real. They would have to see who was faithful. They would have to see what mattered. He said many would be angry at first. He showed her their faces. He showed them shaking their fists at heaven. He showed them blaming God. He showed them saying, "Why did you do this to us?" He showed them forgetting that they had done it to themselves. He showed them blaming other people. They would blame the government. They would blame the other party. They would blame their neighbors. They would blame the rich. They would blame the poor. They would look for someone to fix everything for them. They would look for a savior in a politician. They would look for salvation in a system. They would look for answers in science. They would look for help in the military. They would look everywhere except the right place. They would want external fixes. They would want someone else to solve it. They would want the government to make it better. They would want the church to make it better. They would want anyone to make it better. But the fixing needed to happen inside hearts first. That was the only place real change could happen. The heart had to change. The mind had to change. The spirit had to change. External fixes would not work if the inside was still rotten. You cannot put new paint on a house that is falling down inside. You cannot fix the economy if the hearts are greedy. You cannot fix the government if the people are corrupt. The heart must change first. Then everything else can follow. He told her that God was not punishing people. His heart was not to destroy. His heart was not to hurt. His heart was to save. He was trying to save them from worse things. He showed her what was coming if they did not wake up. He showed her the path they were on. He showed them sleeping as they walked toward a cliff. He He showed them distracted as they approached danger. The shaking would stop them. The shaking would turn them. The shaking would wake them before they walked off the edge. The shaking would make people look up instead of down. When they lost their jobs, they would look up. When they lost their money, they would look up. When they lost their leaders, they would look up. When they had nothing else to hold onto, they would finally see him. They would finally see that he was there all along. They would finally see that their security was not in their jobs or their leaders. Their only security was in God alone. He was the only one who never fails. He was the only one who never leaves. He was the only one who can save. Emily understood that the warning was actually an act of deep love. It was not cruelty. It was not meanness. It was love. Like a parent waking a child from a bad dream before something worse happens. The parent shakes the child. The child wakes up confused. The child is upset. The child wanted to keep sleeping, but the parent knows there is danger. The parent knows the child needs to wake up. The parent knows the dream was turning into a nightmare. The world was sleeping through something dangerous. God was going to shake them awake because he loved them so much. He loved them too much to let them sleep through their own destruction. He loved them too much to let them be comfortable on their way to hell. He loved them too much to let them be distracted from what mattered. He did not want them to miss what was real. He wanted them to see the truth. He wanted them to know him. He wanted them to be ready for what matters. He wanted them to be ready for eternity. He wanted them to be ready for his coming. The shaking was mercy. The shaking was grace. The shaking was love in disguise. Emily said returning to her body felt like jumping into cold water after being very warm. It was a big shock. She felt heavy and trapped. She felt pain everywhere. She opened her eyes in the hospital room and saw me sitting there crying. She said my face looked very tired and old and sad. She wanted to tell me right away where she had been, but her throat hurt too much. She could only smile at me weakly. When she got stronger after some days, she told me everything. She told me about the bright light. She told me about meeting Jesus. She told me about the visions of 2026 and Trump and the troubles coming for America. I listened with tears running down my face. I believed her completely. I knew my daughter was telling the truth. I am writing this because Emily asked me to share her story. She asked me with tears in her eyes. She grabbed my hand and she said, "Mom, you have to tell them. You have to tell everyone. This is not just for us. This is for the whole world." She made me promise. She made me promise that I would not keep this to myself. She made me promise that I would write it down, that I would post it, that I would tell the neighbors, that I would tell the church, that I would tell anyone who would listen. She said this experience was a gift from God, a precious gift, not just for her, not just for our family, but for everyone who will read this and listen, for everyone who has ears to hear, for everyone who has a heart that is still soft, for everyone who is searching, for everyone who is afraid, for everyone who is lost, for everyone who thinks they are found but might be deceived. This message is for you. This warning is for you. This love letter is for you. She wants people to know that death is not the end. I need you to understand this. I need you to really hear this. Death is not the end. Emily was dead. Her heart stopped. The doctors said she was gone, but she was not gone. She was more alive than she had ever been. She was somewhere real. She was with someone real. She saw Jesus. She talked to him. She felt his arms around her. She smelled the air of heaven. She saw the colors that do not exist here. She heard the music that cannot be played here. She felt the love that cannot be matched here, and she came back to tell you. She came back to tell you that there is more. There is so much more. Do not be afraid of dying. Be afraid of not living. Be afraid of sleeping through your life. Be afraid of missing the love that is waiting for you. Death is just a door. It is just a transition. It is just leaving one room and entering another. The real life is on the other side. The real love is on the other side. The real home is on the other side. She wants people to know that Jesus is real. He is not a story. He is not a myth. He is not a nice idea. He is a real person. He has real eyes that look at you with love. He has real arms that hold you when you are broken. He has real tears that he cries when he sees you hurting. He has real power to save you. He has real grace to forgive you. He has real mercy to heal you. He loves you very much, more than you can imagine, more than your mother loves you, more than your father loves you. More than your husband or wife loves you, more than anyone on this earth has ever loved you. He proved it by dying for you. He proved it by rising for you. He proved it by preparing a place for you. He is real and he is coming back. He is real and he is watching now. He is real and he is waiting for you to turn to him. He is not angry. He is not waiting to punish you. He is waiting to embrace you, just like he embraced Emily. He wants to wash you clean. He wants to take your fear. He wants to give you his peace. She wants everyone to get ready spiritually for 2026. This is so important. Please listen to this. Do not get ready by storing food. Do not get ready by buying gold. Do not get ready by building bunkers. Do not get ready by buying guns. That is not the preparation that matters. Get ready by being awake. Get ready by praying. Get ready by trusting God completely. Get ready by cleaning out your heart. Get ready by forgiving those who hurt you. Get ready by turning off the things that distract you. Get ready by reading his word. Get ready by talking to him every day. Get ready by loving your neighbor. Get ready by being pure. Get ready by being holy. Get ready by being separate from the world. That is the preparation that will matter when 2026 comes. That is the preparation that will save you when everything shakes. That is the preparation that will keep you standing when everyone else falls. Be awake. Do not be asleep. Do not be like the foolish virgins who had no oil in their lamps. Be like the wise ones. Be ready, be watching, be waiting, be expecting him. I am her mother and I have seen the change in her with my own eyes. I know my daughter, I raised her. I saw her before the accident, I saw her after. She is different, she is completely different. Before she was like everyone else. She was worried about her job, she was worried about her appearance, she was worried about her future. She was scrolling on her phone all the time. She was watching shows that did not help her. She was arguing about politics. She was anxious. She was restless. She was searching for something she could not find, but now she is peaceful, she is calm, she is steady. Even when she watches the news on television, she does not panic or cry. She does not shake, she does not get angry, she just looks at me and she smiles. She says, "Mom, it is going to be okay." She says, "Mom, he is in control." She says, "Mom, do not be afraid." She knows who is really in charge of the world. She has seen him. She has been with him. She has felt his love. And that love has cast out all her fear. That love has made her strong. That love has made her ready. I ask you who are reading this to think about your own life. Please stop right now. Stop scrolling. Stop reading for just a moment. Look at your heart. Really look. Are you prepared in your heart, not with money, not with emergency plans, not with supplies, not with knowledge, not with connections, but in your soul? Is your soul ready? Is your heart clean? Is your spirit awake? Are you right with God? Do you know him? Does he know you? Are you walking with him or are you walking away from him? Are you following him or are you following the world? Are you awake spiritually or are you sleeping through your life? Are you watching and praying or are you distracted and entertained? Are you hot? Are you cold or are you lukewarm? If you are lukewarm, he will spit you out. Please do not be lukewarm. Please choose. Please wake up. Please get ready. My daughter died and came back to tell us that love is waiting for everyone. Love is waiting for you right now. As you read this, love is looking at you. Love is calling your name. Love is reaching out his hand. Love is ready to forgive you. Love is ready to wash you. Love is ready to hold you. That peace is possible even in hard times, especially in hard times. The peace that Emily has is available to you. You do not need to fear the future no matter what happens. You do not need to fear 2026. You do not need to fear the shaking. You do not need to fear the loss. You do not need to fear the persecution. You do not need to fear the death, because he is with you, because he will never leave you, because he has already walked through the fire and he knows the way. Please listen to her words. Please do not ignore this. Please do not scroll past this. Please do not say this is just another story. Please do not say this is just another crazy person. Please do not harden your heart. Please listen. Please consider. Please pray. Ask God if this is real. Ask him to show you. Ask him to speak to you. He will. He promises that if you seek him, you will find him. Please get ready. The time is shorter than we think. It is passing so quickly. Days are going by so fast. 2026 is coming. The shaking is coming. The testing is coming. The separation is coming. God is giving us a chance to wake up before 2026. He is giving us warning because He loves us. He is giving us time because He is merciful. He is giving us opportunity because He wants everyone to be saved. Please take this chance. Please do not wait. Please do not delay. Please do not say tomorrow I will get right with God. Tomorrow might be too late. Today is the day of salvation. Today is the day to wake up. Today is the day to choose. Please take this chance. Please choose Him. Please choose life. Please choose love. Please choose peace. Please choose salvation. Please choose to be ready. Please choose to be awake. Please choose to be His. Please.